Oh, but you know what? It's dark on that side. Let's see. Are we good?
Okay, can you see it? Oh, you can't hear it, right? Let me hear it and then call me back. Oh, it's starting?
All right, let's see. I guess that's as big as we're going to get it.
Okay.
Okay, can you hear? How does that sound? Is it too echoey?
Do you hear an echo?
Do you hear an echo from me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so now
She's
tell
gonna turn
me.
it off. Okay, I'm going to mute it.
There. How do we sound now?
Can you hear us?
Okay, now you guys sound good.
We sound good? Okay, cool. All right.
I can hear you through the video. Yeah.
Okay, good. Then we don't need
Say
those.
that one more time.
So check, 1, 2, 3.
Can you hear us good?
All right, perfect.
Okay, there's a little bit of delay then, because he's like waiting to.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so I think we're good then. All right.
Okay. Thank you.
So,
Bye.
Let me see this.
You're welcome. Bye. Have fun.
Thank you. All right. I want to, I guess we can just leave and we'll put this right here. Make it look a little bit better. And all right, I think we're good. I usually have something to fidget. Did you grab one more?
Yeah. You can have this
That's
one.
okay. I'll get this one. It's all right. And that one can have it in my. All right. So we'll edit that. But what's up, Alice?
Not much. Just here. Excited. Thank you again for having me back here. I haven't stopped talking about it for the past few days.
Yeah, I'm super excited too. So welcome to the first episode of the From Hot Mess to Success podcast. My name is Adelina Olivares and I'm your host for the podcast. This is Miss Alice, and we met during the From Hot Mess to Success Summit. Alice was one of our sponsors for the event, and we brought her back to be the first, to be our first guest for this podcast, because I felt like we had such a strong connection.
Yeah, for sure. I feel the same. Like it was just that thing. Like even since the first message when I sent it to you on Instagram, it was like, oh wow, she does like self-development and all. She has all these projects going on. I was like, yeah, she's my type of person. I like her.
Yeah. So you're really into personal development, self-development, professional and business development as well, right?
Yeah. I actually don't have a business background, but I always saw my mom hustling, and I always liked how, like through her effort and mistakes, I always kind of took what she did right and what she did wrong, and just like, okay, I want to be a business owner and I want to have the same drive that she has, but now I want to like do things in a better way. So that's why I like self-development, and also, in myself too, like having myself grow and going from one thing to mentally doing something better for myself. Like I really like that.
Yeah. So I love it too, because I've been doing personal development. That's actually like what my career is rooted in personal development. So it was just natural for me to like reach out to you and ask you to be a guest on the podcast. But look, so you guys get to see us live right now, and it's only going to be what you'll be able to watch during the live, because once we're done, we're going to put this video on private, and we'll take some time to edit it, and then we're going to share it across the social media platforms. But if you watch this live, you get to see all of the things that we do, all of the bloopers, everything that we forgot, everything that we need to do. Like right now, I'm going to have to step out of the what is it, the square,
frame.
the frame right now, because I forgot to turn on the phone.
I was
And
thinking
here
the
we
same
are.
thing right now. I'm like,
Here we are.
okay, are we gonna turn on the phone?
Yeah, so I'm gonna go turn the phone on, and you can say hi over there, Miss Alice, while I get this going over here.
So
Gosh.
yeah, like it's so crazy how Adelina and I met. Like I think I had sent you a message first, or like, hey, my name's Alice, nice to meet you. And then we just kind of like started liking each other's stuff. And then I saw Adelina post I saw you post about the Hot Mess Success, and I was like, oh my gosh, what is that? It's like a real catchy name. So I saw that she was like putting something inspirational, and I'm like, yeah, I like that too. Or I don't remember what I have put.
Now you turn yours on. Okay. Yeah, I was sharing information because we were getting ready to host the From Hot Mess to Success Summit.
Yeah.
And you did reach out to me, but not for you. You actually reached out to me to recommend somebody. I think that's how it went, because you recommended
Yes.
one of our presenters, which is Crystal
That's true.
from K Beauty.
Yeah.
And then I think I followed back up with you,
Yeah.
and you messaged me. I followed up with you because you messaged me interest to be a sponsor, and then that's how we
Yes.
got going, right?
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I'm so happy. I'm glad that we met and that I get to be part of this huge movement. And I know several people have already been talking about it and stuff. So I'm pretty excited.
Yeah. Okay. So, just so everybody knows, we actually have that one over there, which we're gonna do like another intro all over again, so that way we catch it over there. And this is part of the good stuff that you guys get to see, all the behind the scenes stuff before it's edited, like I was talking to you about earlier. So bear with us while we do the intro all over again. All right. So. What's up, everybody? My name is Adelina Olivares, your host for the From Hot Mess to Success podcast. This is episode 1, and I'm so honored to welcome our first guest, Miss Alice. Alice was one of our sponsors for the From Hot Mess to Success Summit, and I think we just aligned so well with our vibe that it was one of the more natural and of course, common sense things to do to ask you to come and be part of this podcast.
Thank you so
welcome.
much. Thank you. Thank you for having me over. I'm so excited to be part of this big movement. Ever since the first time, like the time that I saw you post that motivational video, I was like, oh my God, like this girl, she's a go-getter. Like I could just see the fire in your eyes. So I'm really happy and grateful that you have me here being part of this movement.
Well, I'm honored to have you, and so yeah, we've already gotten to know a little bit about each other. My nails are also Alice done, and I get compliments everywhere about the nails. The first set, this set, I can't wait to go back because I'm getting a new set.
Yeah,
for my travel trip, right?
We mastermind the designs.
Yeah, and then I always go in and change everything. Yeah. I bought this the whole time before going, and then I'm like, you know what? I was thinking about it, and
I'm like, oh my God, I have a client in 30 minutes. Yes, I can do an hour design in 30 minutes.
I'm super thankful for you. But yeah, I think like we were talking about earlier, one of the things that we share common ground in is the passion for personal development, right?
Yes.
And it's what my business is rooted in. But I kind of want to know how personal development, self-development has played a picture in your life. Where did it start for you?
Well, my mom, she's from Mexico, and she had very little education. She had a very tough childhood, so she had to fend for herself a lot. And she's a very strong woman, right? And she grew up just survival mode, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was more like, okay, like if you're suffering, if you're set that aside, like there's no room for that. Like you got to keep going because that's all there is to life. And of course, right, when when you go through that, you don't have time to really explore who you are, right?
Mhm.
You kind of grow up like with the, what is it called, like the limiting beliefs or the false narratives that are in your family for many, many, many generations. So when I was a teenager, I went through a really difficult depression, like a real deep depression, and I grew up with that. So I always knew, like, in me, so, like, there was something in me, because my mom has always been like very strong minded, and she's
Mhm.
always been the type to, like, you don't stop for nothing, even if everything is falling apart, like, you keep going. So I feel like my siblings and I, we always had that instilled in us, but I always knew, like, there has to be more. Like, you don't have to, how can I say it, like, the limiting beliefs, even though yes, we had a hustle mentality and we are very strong minded, like, there was always something in me that knew there was more.
Mhm.
So, in the very bottom of my depression and going through a very extremely abusive relationship, which it wasn't physically abusive, but it was extremely mentally abusive,
Uh-huh.
to the point where there was a lot of manipulation and
So you were with a narcissist.
yes, yes, yes. I couldn't find the word, but that's exactly who I was with. And it just, like, going through that and going through what I went through in my childhood and growing up with that depression, I remember I went to a psychiatrist and a psychologist, and they're like, "You need pills."
Oh, right away, huh?
And I was like, no, like, I am not gonna take. I took the pills one time and they made me feel so bad. I was like, oh my gosh, like, I hate the way this feels. So I was like, no, I know I can get rid of this somehow.
Mhm.
I didn't know how, but it came to a point where in my 20s I was unhappy with where I was headed. And I actually came across the first book that I ever read, which was How to Live a Kick-Ass Life or
Ah,
something like that. I can't really remember the title. It's a pink book. If you're going through something, if you want to start discovering yourself, man, I recommend that book all the time.
really? Who's the
Yes.
author of that book?
I don't remember.
How to Live a Kick-Ass Life.
Yes. And it talks about, like, your non-negotiables. That was the part that made me that opened up another world to me, because I didn't know that I had boundaries. I just thought, oh, we do whatever everybody else says,
Ah.
and you don't speak your mind. You don't, you're quiet, you just keep working, and you just keep, pushing through and dealing with everybody's crap, and but when I read that book, I'm like, I actually do have boundaries,
Uh-huh.
and I have to set my non-negotiable. So from then on, it was like a ongoing development, and this was more than 15 years ago when I read it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and then from there I started reading business books from Patrick Bet-David, which is one of the people that I
Okay.
admire a lot, and Think and Grow Rich, and How to
Napoleon
Win and Influence Friends, and
Dale
5 Levels of
Carnegie.
Leadership.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah,
I love
yeah.
it. Those are some of my favorite books.
Yeah,
And authors
so
and people.
yeah. And then I saw, like, man, like, there's a lot to people. There's a lot to us. Like, our capacity is not capped. There's so much that you can learn and expand yourself with. So
Uh-huh.
I'm still on that journey now.
Don't you just love it? Oh my God, I love it because you get just as excited about books as I do. And the fact that it was a book that kind of like flipped the switch for you, right? Turned on the lights. It's like, holy crap.
Yeah, yeah.
You said it introduced you to a whole new world, right?
Yes.
Well, that was the same for me. It was books that I was like, what? What in the world? I had talked to you about that, about one of the books we're going to talk about here today.
Yes.
And that book, I just remember, I was like, oh my God. And I don't think I've ever talked about books to people where they can relate in like a similar experience that they've had. And now it's like, okay, I can see that you've had that experience, right? I mean, I've talked to people, but nobody like this, right? And and yeah, for me it was the first book that flipped the switch for me was Secrets of a Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker. And that book, I was just like, wow, it made so many things make sense for me. And I was able to kind of like understand, like, holy crap, this is why I do what I do, right? And that's that. It just was like the tip of the iceberg for me. And I really started to get to know myself through these other books. Every time I read another book or I listened to an audio, and I explored, the world of books and knowledge. And yeah, I'm making an entire career out of it. So I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, and you never really get to master yourself, because one thing I realized is the in the mentality that I had when I first read How to Live a Kick-Ass Life. I don't know if I'm saying it right though, so I might need some correction there. But when I read that book, the person who I was then, even a year ago, the person who I was then, now compared to now, it's such a different person. Yet I still find myself like growing and trying to like get ahead in my self development. And it's just like with things that happen to us, we learn from it and then we continue growing from that. So it's never really like mastering yourself. You're always kind of just going to that next level, I guess.
And you're absolutely right. We're not the same people we were even yesterday. Even leaving this room, we're going to leave this room completely different, with
Mhm.
different perspectives. I mean, we're sharing information and we're growing together even right now. And so it makes sense to say that, yeah, I'm not the same person I was a year ago,
Yeah.
because we're definitely not. I
Yeah.
hope. I mean,
Yeah.
you shouldn't be the same as you were years
Mhm.
ago. You
Yeah.
should be learning and evolving, people.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I have an alarm going. So there you go. Here we go. I really need to take this alarm off. All right, and we're back.
Yeah. And
So,
oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
So I think going back to that, what you're saying, like you shouldn't, but I feel like at some point in my life, in my self-growth journey, it was like I was scared to dive deep in there. Like there's a part that we don't explore because there's always that little fear of I may be wrong in my beliefs and I don't want to be wrong. The ego, I guess, right?
The ego, or possibly like the pre-programmed mind that's rooted in maybe culture or religion,
Yeah.
right? Because I know I struggled a lot with that personal development, and that personal identification of
Mhm.
who I was, when I would think about what I was supposed to be religiously, or what I was supposed to not be religiously, right?
Yes.
What I was supposed to be culturally and what I was not supposed to be culturally.
Yeah.
And so I think in personal development, in self discovery, you realize that you can really be anything you want to be,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And that is scary for some people,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. Because and one person that I admire so much is my mom. Not because she's my mom. I admire her because she went from a tough, very difficult childhood to fighting with like the beliefs that she was instilled. She's from Mexico, like all my family is super Mexican, right? There's a lot
Viva
of
la raza.
beliefs. Yeah. Yeah. And so she fought a lot, right? And a lot of people were like, well, you're wrong for believing that. And she was like the rebel, right? Like no, like there's more to this, and I believe this, and I'm not gonna be quiet because I need to voice what I think. And the part about religion, right? And later on she completely changed by challenging the beliefs and actually building her own, going by her own, like choosing her own identity.
Uh-huh.
So it was like, that's somebody that I'm just like, wow, like that's awesome, right? That she's been able to change that. That's inspired me to change my own narratives too. It's full.
Oh my God. Okay, so we're just gonna have to work off of this video.
Yeah.
Because now the phone is full. I just take this off. Ah. All right. So what do you say if we just put that bad boy away? We'll take these off. And since they can hear us pretty good out there in the YouTube world, we'll put those away. And so that's the joy about you guys getting to watch live on YouTube. The other recording was going to be also for clips, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
I had to go back and delete stuff because I guess I don't have any more storage, right? Anyhow, so you had an example of somebody who was a rebel, who stepped into their identity and challenged those preconceived notions of who they were supposed to be and what they were allowed to do and not do, right? And I think that's really awesome, because you can embrace that for yourself, I think, a little bit easier than some of the other people who really want to, but maybe they find themselves a little bit more scared just because they've never seen anybody in real life do it, right?
Yeah.
And I think that I can relate more to that because, well, for one, in my life, my mom we went through a tragedy within our family, and she lost a son, and that was my little brother. So I felt like I lost my mom when I lost my brother because she was never the same, and she went through a big depression. And so it was during my teenage years that I found myself kind of just trying to figure out life for myself, right? And I think that uh, personal development has helped not only me, but it also now has helped my mom because it's something that, like, we used to argue and fight a lot. I'm gonna go ahead and promote. It's in my book. My book is on Amazon. Stop fucking up your life, and I share some of my personal stories in there, and one of them is about the relationship I had with my mom, and it was a little bit toxic, a little challenging, but I wouldn't change anything from my past because it's made me the woman I am now, right? And I really believe that there was a point in my life where I so badly wanted to kind of I wanted everybody who I was connected with, which at that point was like my mom and my kids and my ex. I was like, you guys, we can change, right? I'm like, we can do this. We don't have to live like this. Like,
Yeah.
the way we're living is not normal, and if we just did things different, like, we could totally change our lives around. And man, that was not very well received.
Yeah.
I was like, and so I struggled. I battled it out with my mom, and it's like she was kind of stuck in that in that identity, in her habitual ways, right? Tell somebody they're doing something wrong when they're in, their late 40s, and they're gonna fight you, or early 50s, they're gonna fight you. It's not, we're not people who like change.
Yeah.
Right? And then, so I did go through a moment of detachment even from my mom. I detached from my family and a lot of friends, people who I thought were friends, and I continued this journey of personal development, right, and self discovery, and I was that rebel. I was like, no, you know what? I'm sorry. Then it is what it is. And then because I kept going and I demonstrated that changed behavior, my mom started to see that I was different. not just me talking and saying, oh, I'm going to do things different. Now she started to see that I was living different, that I was raising my kids different, and that I was even responding to her differently, right? I
Mhm.
wasn't, it was one of those moments where I'm like, I'm not going to let you get under my skin. Like, I'm not going to fight with you. I'm not going to argue back. I'm not going to do this anymore with you.
Yeah.
And man, at first I was like, well, hell if you're not, man. Yes, you are.
Yeah.
And then after a while it was like, wow, we're really not fighting anymore. And it created the space for us to come back together in peace, right? And
Yes.
start to kind of forgive each other, and then start to love each other in beautiful ways.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
and now it's like, I mean, I love my mom. So I've always loved her. I mean, even through the toxicity of everything, I've always loved her. It was like, um, it was a toxic relationship,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
How else do you put it? But now it's a beautiful relationship.
Mhm.
And you have those people in your life where some people are permanent.
Mhm.
Some people are gonna come and go and come and go. They're gonna cycle in and out of your life. And then there's some people who come and then leave and you never see them again,
Yeah.
right? Um, and I think that it's beautiful when you find your people. It's beautiful when you can detach and you have those people to go back to. And it's beautiful to recognize that it's okay if people leave, and that's it,
Yeah,
it
like it
ends
doesn't
there.
it doesn't mean anything of you, right? Like everybody has.
I thought I turned it off. All right, we're gonna really turn this off. Talk to me, girl.
So I think that's the most important part of it all is we're born in a culture, and I mean culture, we're we're raised in a culture where they teach us how to attach ourselves to everything around us to validate who we are, which is the crazy part,
Yeah,
right?
uh-huh.
Like I grew up, like I said, my mom, she had a really rough childhood, and she couldn't really, which understandably, right, I understand that now as an adult, she couldn't really put time into us to, like, oh, you're doing a great job, or for her it was more like, good job, now get back to work,
Ándale.
like,
Next.
yeah. Or if we cry, she'd be like, there's no time for crying, like, you fell on the ground, straight, dust off your knees,
Sacúdete
and
y vámonos.
yes, keep going. And so I grew up wanting attention.
Mm.
I didn't know that, though. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But I did grow up longing for that attention. So whenever something went good in my life, or when something was, like, kind of felt like a reward, I would attach myself to that feeling.
Mm.
And then I mean, rewards are just that, right? Like it's pasajero, basically, right? It comes and goes.
Uh-huh.
And but I would attach myself to that, and I'd be like, I don't want to let this go because I worked so hard to get this. And it was not only with stuff, with material, but it was with people also, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
and then of course, like you say, people come and go, and some you never get to see. And that's when I had to learn to let go.
Mm-hmm.
Let go of it, let go of it. And I think that was, for me, that was the most difficult thing, was letting go and know in me that it's okay. It's okay to have that leave, and it just makes space for better things, for bigger things, right? So I really like how you said that it's just like this attachment to your circumstances and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. And it's also like, it explains why we're so codependent, right?
Yes.
And why we struggle with breakups, when in reality, like, the sooner it's not working out, the sooner you recognize those red flags, the better it is to, like, cut the cord right
Yeah.
then and there, right?
Yes.
But we tend to prolong things, because I know for me and my family, the women, man, we would stay in them toxic relationships till, like, the very, very end.
Yeah.
We were like, is that all you got? Come on, hit me with another
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
And instead of being like, nah, the boundaries,
Yes.
right? Like, I wasn't raised to believe I could set boundaries. And it was like, okay, well, okay, I guess I'll just take it.
You're like kind of coasting through life and just like, okay, like this is life, this is what it is. But you get to a point where you kind of just, you're the spectator of everything that's happening outside. And then you realize, oh, I never really had control of nothing outside of me. The only thing I have control of is myself.
Uh-huh.
And going back to what you said, like the toxic relationships, the book that you recommended me, Outwitting the Devil, by the way, that book. Oh my gosh, we're getting into the nitty gritty here. So it said that a lot of people have the false narrative of every marriage is made in heaven. I'm not a marriage a counselor or anything like that, right? But I mean, obviously, if you have this toxicity and it's bringing you down, and why would you stay in a place like that when you've tried to work it out so many times and it just didn't? Yeah. It takes two, right? And there's something off there. So
hello. So there you have it. That's the book that we're introducing today. That's the book that we're introducing in today's podcast. It's Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill.
Yes, such a good book.
Yeah. So when I went to see you the other day when you were doing my nails, you mentioned that it was a little difficult to read it, right? So I know that on YouTube there's some audiobooks on it, but there was one in particular that I enjoyed and I was able to listen to, because there's just some audiobooks that you're like,
yeah,
right? But this one really kept my attention and I really was able to grasp the entire book with this audio. And that's the one I sent you. And was it easier for you to listen to it?
Oh yeah, like when my boyfriend gifted me that book, right? And the first time
to the boyfriend.
So the first time that I read it, I only got like, I don't know, I don't think even like chapter 2, because it's like me, the devil, and I was like, oh man. And then my boyfriend had already told me, you have to listen to it, right? If you can't read it, you have to listen to it. But on me, hard-headed, I was like, no, I'm gonna read it. And then you were the second person that told me about it. I'm like, okay, I have to listen to it. But yeah, like it's so good. It expands like your
perspective.
Yeah,
on so many things, so many areas of life, right? And yeah, so Outwitting the Devil for me was one of the first books. I gotta say, there's like top 5 for me, and Outwitting the Devil is definitely in my top 5 favorite books. And it is one that really had an impact in my life. I was actually super scared before. I carried so much fear that I didn't even recognize was fear. I think it's so funny, the story, because I think it started when I was younger and we watched, I think it's called Great Balls of Fire with Jerry Lee Lewis.
Okay.
And there's a scene in there, and I want to say it's Winona Ryder, so I don't know if that's the right movie or not, but there's a scene in that movie where she's watching TV and there's an atomic bomb that goes off, right? And you know the picture, it's like the bomb and then it's and all the smoke, right? And I don't know why that stayed imprinted in my mind. And I had this huge fear of the end of the world.
Oh,
forever. And so growing up, I was like, I would be bad, like be a rebel child. And then I would think, oh man, what if the world ends today? Like, would I go to heaven or hell? And I would have these crazy thoughts, right? Because we weren't really religious growing up. When I was growing up, we were like, what are they called? Holiday Catholics. You go to church on holidays or whatever. So we would just go to church during those times. But for whatever reason, I used to think about like, where would I go, right? Heaven or hell? And growing up and having children of my own, that fear just, grew. And for everything, I was like, what if the war happens? And what if I don't have food to feed my kids? And what if this happens? And what if, and I was just like so scared of all these things, but it was a silent battle. I never told anybody about that, like never. But one day, during my network marketing, I'm sorry, my direct sales journey, I was working in an insurance company, and I did so well. I qualified for a trip to go to Hawaii, and we're in 2014. It's October 2014, and I don't know if you remember what was going on during that time, but it was Ebola.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so I qualified for this trip, and I wanted to go to Hawaii. One, I had never flown before. Okay, so I was like, I am not gonna get on an airplane. That is so scary, right? And then my aunt and my uncle, who were in the company with me, they were like, "Well, you can't drive to Hawaii. I don't think you want to take a boat to Hawaii. So, you gotta get a plane ticket." And I seriously thought about it. I was gonna let my Hawaii trip
Oh
go
my
because I was
gosh.
scared of flying. And not only that, like I said, it was during the time of Ebola, and I was scared that something would happen while I was gone and I would never see my kids again. And I was like, what in the world? Like, this is insane. I can't be thinking like this. So at this point, I've already gotten familiar with Napoleon Hill's work, right? And I remember I flew from El Paso to LAX, and I was going to charge my phone, and there was only one charging station left. I saw this guy from my peripheral vision, and he was walking towards the same little outlet, and I was like, oh God. So then we both get there, and I look up, and the guy's a big guy, right? And then he has this shirt, and it has 666 right on top across the chest. And I was like, go ahead. Go ahead, you got that. He's like, no, go ahead. You can get it. And I was like, not really. You
Am I gonna get shot?
all these skulls and all this design on his shirt. And then he's like, no, really, go ahead. And I was like, okay. So I plug in, right? And he stays there, and we start talking, and it turns out to be like this coolest dude ever. And he tells me, I tell him, so because at that point I was going to church. I was still a little bit, I had gotten into a point where I was really religious. Okay. So at this point, I'm like really into the church. And so I turned and I asked him, are you a devil worshiper? And he's all, no. Why? Are you a devil worshiper? And I was like, nah, I'm a Jesus worshiper. And he starts laughing. And, we cracked up, and he told me, no, the shirt is because I'm a DJ in California, here in California. It was in San Diego. And he's like, and one of the bands gave me their shirt, and this is their shirt, whatever. So anyhow, following that, I get in the line to go to Hawaii, right? And we're boarding the next plane. And there's a guy in front of me, and he has one of the shirts that has a logo for the company I'm with. And in his briefcase, there's a book, and it's sticking out, but all you see is like this much. And I see that it says Napoleon Hill, and I'm like, oh, I started making small talk with him. And I'm like, hey, you're in the same company. You're going to Hawaii? Yeah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what book is that? Because it was a black book. And I was like, I thought I seen all of Napoleon Hill's books already. And he busted out with it, and it said, Outwitting the Devil.
You are the devil.
And I was like, what the hell?
You tricked me.
So I was like, wow. It's a scary little title if you're especially rooted religiously, right? And I remember thinking like, oh, okay. Well, trip out on this, okay? This is a true story, all right? We talk a little bit. We fly to Hawaii. This is a training for a company that had, I want to say, about 20,000 people go from all over the world. And from what I had heard, they had rented about 3 different like hotels for people to go and stay at. And, so we're in all these different places. And then the event center where the training was at was huge. And you're talking like at least 20,000 people, right?
Wow.
I bump into him at the training. And I'm like, hey,
Nice.
what's up? And he's like, hey. And then, fast forward, I'm at the beach, bump into a dude at the beach. And I'm
Wow,
like,
what a
what? Right?
coincidence. Yeah.
So then fast forward again, and I'm back on the plane, leaving Hawaii to go back to LAX. And this plane is huge, bigger than the airplanes I was in going. And when we're taking off, it started to shake a lot. All right, like super shake.
Oh.
And I went like, because again, remember, I'm super fearful of so many things, right? So I'm like, oh shit, I'm gonna die right here on this airplane. And then I feel a hand on my shoulder from the back. And I turn and it's that guy.
Wow.
And he's like, relax, it's just turbulence. And I'm like, what the hell is turbulence? I didn't know anything. I was so green. And then so he's like, here, read a book. And he gives me the book. And so I was like, okay, I get it. Okay, I'm gonna read this book, right? So I start reading the book and I just couldn't read it fast enough. And I started taking pictures because I knew we were about to land. And I was like, I called my ex and I'm like, hey, you got to take me to Barnes and Noble. I got to go get this book. And a couple of days later, I was listening to it. I was like, I can't read it fast enough. I went and got the CDs and I was playing it. I was in my kitchen and I was cleaning the countertop when the part says, oh, you silly earthling.
Oh, yes.
Get
Yes.
it. That I have no control over you and fear is blah, blah, blah. I remember I was cleaning the counter and then I turned to my side and I was like, motherfucker. Are you serious? That's it. And I can't even explain the experience that I had, but I can say this. I've never, ever, ever experienced fear like I used to in my past ever again. I've gotten scared and there's been things that I've been like, oh shit about, but I have never allowed fear to paralyze me like the way it did before that book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can only get through fear. You can only get over fear by going through it. Like there's no way around it. You got to face it.
Mm-hmm.
And when you face it, you realize it wasn't really that big of a deal. Like your head makes things much bigger than what they really are. And I'm going to tell you something that my accountant told me. Man, I tell this to everybody because when she's like a super like straightforward, she's a business coach too, right? So she said, Alice, I was telling her about something that I was concerned about. And she goes, Alice, nobody cares. She's like, all these things that you're saying that are happening, they're probably only happening in your head. Nobody knows what's going on in your head. And she said, she said, picture, this is what you do. Picture yourself driving and then you're going in a very smooth road. And then you stop, you park your car, you get a shovel from your trunk and you dig a hole in the middle of the road and you make a pothole and you drive through it just so you can get a flat tire. And I was like, that's the realest thing I've heard about myself. It was embarrassing, right? Because I realized, oh my God, I'm driving on a smooth road and I'm literally digging out potholes so I can get flat tires.
Yeah.
And it was the biggest like realization about stuff. I'm like, and now I tell it to everybody, like, are you sure you're not digging a pothole so you can get a flat tire in your car, you know? And that's what fear is. Like fear is just you making things up letting your brain, because the brain, that's another subject,
Yeah.
right? Like the brain, you're not your brain. It sounds crazy, right? But the brain is a computer. It's a memory. So it's like we're constantly like making sense of stuff, and we make sense of it however we know already how to make sense of it.
Uh-huh.
So it's like that's what fear is. You make up all these things that are not even happening yet.
Yeah. And it's interesting that you tap into the whole brain and the separation of like the fact that it's a programming, right? You said computer, it's like a programming, and it's like saying it's not who we are, but it is who we are, right?
Yes.
And and I think that that's really interesting because um when you talk about the brain, it's what makes us who we are, right? It's the mechanism that stores everything and that is programmed for us to know how to react
Mm-hmm.
to emotions, right? It's the communication system within our body that and our own awareness,
Mm-hmm.
right? So when it comes to fear, and this is something that I share in my courses and my workbooks, and with my clients, is that we the way we're created is it's really beautiful actually. And our brain is created that in a sense that where you feel an emotion and automatically attach words and actions to that emotion, but your words and actions that you attach to these emotions were taught to you,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's part of the program in your brain that has been the reason why you're at where you're at in life, right? And so when you get to a point in life where you realize, like, I don't like where I'm at, I want to change, I always go back and tell people, like, okay, well, then understand this. You are not you.
Mm-hmm.
You are a you that was created by the people who surrounded you. You were programmed to become this person. And the beautiful thing about life and free will is that we get to choose. At that point, we get to choose, do we want to continue to be this person,
Mm-hmm.
or do we want to start to cultivate our chosen identity,
Yes. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then it's a matter of the law of habit and hypnotic rhythm, which
Oh my
goes back
gosh.
to the Outwitting the Devil book, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That right there. Oh man. I had never thought about it. Yeah. I was like,
Right?
it's a whole cycle. It's a whole circle all around, right? Like the people you can start with the people you hang out with. The first people that you hang out with is your family.
Yep.
Okay. And if your family is not aware that they're not their limiting beliefs,
Uh-huh.
then they're going to instill in you those beliefs as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then your brain overrides anything else and it believes it and it becomes a rhythm of life, of living.
Mm-hmm.
And then I feel like a lot of people, including myself at one point, I had a lot of resentment towards the world.
Okay.
It was like, man, the life is hard, and why am I even here, man? Like, if I just came to suffer, And then later on, I realized, like, it doesn't really have to be that way. It's just the voice that I would hear. The "we just came to suffer" was a very familiar voice, but it wasn't mine. It wasn't mine, and it took me reading a lot of books because at some point I used to be very shy and I didn't want to be in public and I really was kind of scared of speaking and voicing my own voice, right? So, like, really showing who I am. And I had to read a lot of books and I started realizing, like, oh my gosh, like, I need to read more of this because what has been instilled in me is not real. It sounds
Mm-hmm.
crazy to somebody who's never heard of it. And I think that's why Napoleon Hill, uh he was kind of shunned for a lot of stuff
Mm-hmm.
because of the limiting beliefs, right?
Yeah.
So you have to hang out with people who think different so you can get another hypnotic rhythm. You can get into
Exactly.
another hypnotic rhythm.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
and the thing about harmony, you think about harmony and it's like, oh, peaceful. But you can actually be in harmony in a toxic relationship.
Yeah.
With the same mentality, you're in harmony.
Yeah.
Which was the craziest thing. Like, that blew my mind.
Yeah. 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 It's crazy the way the law of habit and hypnotic rhythm work. And it's scary, it's ugly. It's for me, I'm gonna say I'm live. So I turned to God and I'm like, oh, you got a sense of humor, dude.
Yeah.
you know? I was just like, well, that's kind of messed up. You know what I mean? Like, where the hell's free will at then? If a person goes their entire life journey never recognizing that they have the opportunity to activate free will, then they're always in a hypnotic state from the time they're born till the time they die.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I think that's when I turn around and be like, okay, God, that's kind of messed up, man. You know what I mean? But who am I to say anything? You're the creator here.
Yeah.
But that's for another episode, okay? No, but so that's where I really was like, all right, I'm understanding that this law of habit and hypnotic rhythm has me where I'm at, but I'm also understanding that the same things that are like at work behind the scenes, making that so, are the same things that are going to help me
Mhm.
in creating a new life.
Yeah.
Right. So when I work with my clients, it's all part of the process. And one of the things that I like that where I had like my epiphany or my wake up moment was when I realized like I have the right to choose. And not only do I have the right to choose, but I have to choose it every day because we're creatures of habit, and it's gonna be hard, especially when I realize like every time I try and do this by myself, I end up like, slipping back into my old ways. Um, that's why it's so important to connect with other like-minded people.
Mhm.
You got the way you are at that point by who you surrounded yourself with. And in Secrets of a Millionaire Mind, he's like, what you see, what you hear, and what you experience. So for me, I've said she makes up your programming. She makes up your programming. What you see, what you hear, and what you experience.
Yeah.
She.
Oh yeah, I see that. I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
So it's like what you see, what you hear, and what you experience makes up the programming. And I always tell people this, like, uh, up until right now, you can blame and fault anybody you want up until right now, but from this moment forward, you are not allowed to blame anybody anymore for what happens from this day forward.
Yeah, now that you're mentioning that, last time I was talking to my boyfriend and I was so upset at something that happened in my life, and I was like, I wish I could blame someone, but I can't.
Doesn't that suck? When you like really own your shit, you really own it, even the bad stuff.
Yeah, and then he's like, well, if you have to blame someone, blame someone. I'm like, yeah, but I know it's not real. Like, I know that if I blame whoever, like
It
I
always comes right back to you, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
like that person has no fault, and a lot of people would probably, maybe in a sense, it feels better to delegate that feeling of failure, I would say, and of frustration with ourselves,
Mhm.
right? Because we're having realizations that, oh, this was probably my fault, and nobody likes to be wrong. So it was
Ooh,
like, oh, who
girl.
do I blame? Who do I blame? I gotta blame someone. And he's like, I'm like, but I can't. It's me. I'm the one to blame. And then he was just like, well,
So I'm glad you're bringing that up. Um, because I'm so big on accountability, like self accountability. I asked myself, okay, so that I had a little moment where I went through it because my hair was damaged
yes.
by somebody. So I went to a salon and I got my hair done, and it was an awful job, right? And I remember sitting there and I told my husband, I'm like, what did I do to attract this? Right? Like, what did I do to attract this experience? And I'm like trying to find and find my accountability. Like, what did I do? Because ever since I started to take accountability, ever since I realized like what I put out is what I get back, I try and be as careful and intentional with everything that I put out. So you're not gonna catch me cutting corners and being shady. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not gonna happen because I'm like, nah, I'm not gonna do that to myself. You know what I mean? Um, and I found myself wondering, like, what did I do? Like, what have I done to deserve this? Right? My husband was a big teacher for me in this very very specific area, and that's that what I did wasn't about me doing something bad or putting out negativity. Listen to this. It was about me allowing.
Mm-hmm.
It was about me accepting things. So, backstory, right? I have three baby daddies, and I stayed in relationships way longer than I should have. Not only did I stay in relationships way longer than I should have, but even after, it goes for not just my exes, family and friends and people in general who would like screw me over, do me wrong, hurt me physically, emotionally, mentally. I was so quick I was so quick to forgive and forget. Just forgive and forget. And you know what I say now? I'm like, I believe in forgiveness 100% because forgiveness isn't about the other person, it's about you. But I'm like, don't forget.
Mm-hmm.
Don't forget. Just don't allow it to be a negative impact over you. But because I used to forgive and forget, I used to keep the door open and keep the peace with everybody. And those same people would hurt me over and over and over again. And I even remember telling my mom, like, oh, it's okay. They can like me when they like me and not like me when they don't want to like me. Or they can want to be cool with me when they want to, and they don't have to be cool with me when they don't want to. And that went for like my family, right?
Yeah.
Because I feel like I was like the black sheep, and within my family dynamic, it was like, sometimes they liked me and sometimes they didn't, and sometimes they wanted to be cool with me and sometimes they didn't, you know. And I was always just like, okay, cool, whatever, right? And whenever I put my foot down, I felt like I was such a bad guy for putting my foot down. But so when this happened with my hair, my husband told me, you didn't put anything bad out. Is that you keep being okay with things like this happening to you. When are you gonna say, you say that the universe always listening, right? You know, God's always listening. When are you gonna say, okay, that's enough, I don't want to go through that no more, I don't want to allow this in my experience anymore?
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, I'm not gonna allow this. And that's actually why I moved forward with, asking for my refund. I was gonna just walk away and take a loss and be like, all right, well, it is what it is, because we can't control other people, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't, and I set a boundary and said, no, it wasn't right, and it's not okay, and I'm not gonna accept it for, just to stay like this.
Yeah.
And I felt really good about myself in that decision. But it was like a wow moment for me. I was like, it's not that we're putting sometimes bad out. It's just that we keep allowing.
Yeah. And we go back to that hypnotic rhythm, right? Like that's what your brain knows, and it's a familiar feeling of, and it's weird because you would say, some people will probably say, well, going back to relationships as an example, right? I never asked to be in this really bad relationship, so why am I still in this really bad relationship? Well, really it's because that's what's familiar to you,
Mhm.
right? So if you get in a really good relationship and you're so used to being in bad relationships, it's going to slip from your hands because you're so used to in that
Uh-huh.
hypnotic rhythm that you don't align with that
Yeah,
good person, let's say, right? So with you allowing things to happen to you, it was your hypnotic rhythm,
it was.
it was your programming that you maybe learned it from someone. Or I mean, they say that it comes in our DNA as well, like the behaviors of our ancestors. And it's like it trickles down and you don't know why you do these things, but you do them because you are so used to it that you can't even see that you're so used to it.
You're gonna have to come back so that we can have follow-up conversations on a few of these topics, because like I said, that's something for another session, right? Another episode. Well, that is actually something that I've also worked through myself, is breaking those generational cycles,
Mm-hmm.
because there is a truth to the fact that we we are a mirror of our past generations. History does repeat itself,
Yeah.
right? And I'm not sure if it's in our DNA per se, but we do, but there is a truth, because um we do mirror our past,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now, just to kind of touch on that a little bit, I feel there was something I read, and I've spoken on this before. When a person heals, they heal two lineages up and two lineages down. So it's a total of 5 generations that are healed
Wow.
energetically. And I think that's so beautiful. And I think that um, I have been able to witness that in this lifetime, because when I healed, I saw and I see now the healing in my mom, and she has such a relationship, strong relationship and connection with my grandmother, that when she started to change how she was reacting towards my grandmother started to change towards her, and my
Yes.
grandmother started to change towards me. And now, not only, does my mom, obviously my mom, even in the toxic relationship, because that's how we were, was like, okay, she's just my mom, that's just the way she would stay, right? And there's a lot of others that were like, nah, man, it's, I'm not, I just don't go around, right? And they detach. But I have been able to witness how the relationship between my grandmother and my mom changed, and the way she started to treat me. And so I'm actually going to El Paso for her 85th birthday,
Oh.
and she and I have cultivated such a beautiful relationship where we talk on the phone, and it's something that I've never experienced with her before, but I started it and it just kept going. And it's like now I'm like, oh my God, I love my grandma so much. And I'm excited to go and be with her. But, that's two lineages up.
Mm-hmm.
That's my grandmother and my mom. And I see my daughter, and that's a lineage down, and she is nothing like me. And
Wow.
not only that, she gave me a grandson, so she's got a son, and she has raised him in a home and in a manner that is so different from what I raised her and what I was raised in, and the dynamics of like my family, that I know for a fact my grandson will never have to go through so many of the things that we went through, or
Mm-hmm.
even that she went through, because she
Yeah.
will never do that. So the cycle was broken. She was a product, and he's the new generation. And so that's the two lineages up, and that's the two lineages down.
Wow, that's amazing. And going back to the relationship with your mom, my mom and I, we had a very toxic relationship as well growing up. Like I said, like she had a lot of baggage, emotional baggage. And And it just something that comes down generation through generation through generation. And she really fought against that. And I always tell people, our parents did what they could with what they knew.
Exactly.
That, like, we can't blame them for anything, right? So once I realized that I didn't understand her shoes. My mom was a single mother of she was taking care of 5 kids by herself with no help of nobody, from Mexico, no papers, in the US illegally at the time. And now I look back and I reflect on that, and I'm like, man, like she really had it difficult, right? Like, where in all of that was she gonna catch a break, right? So she had to do with the chancla what she could, to put some sense in us. But I started healing. For a long time I had a lot of resentment in me, and I would blame her about it, and we would have arguments. And one time, the last argument that we had, the last one, very, very, very last one, she was already in her spiritual journey, and she had already changed a lot. And but the dynamic between us, even though it was healed already, pretty much, I would say like 90% healed, there was this dynamic between us that it wasn't a good one. But it was like, before we saw each other, we had in our heads an image of each other. Okay. So it's funny, the image that she had of me was that I was going to get offended with everything that she would say, or that I would see her as the enemy. And the image that I had of her was that she was going to criticize me. Okay. But I didn't know this. And we were at IHOP. We went to have breakfast. We were at IHOP, and we started arguing. Not really bad or anything, but in between us, and I didn't want my breakfast, and she didn't want her breakfast either. And she's like, let's go. And me, in my pride, I paid for it because she said she was gonna pay for it. So I was like, I'm gonna pay for it. And she's like, I told you I was gonna pay for it. And I was really mad, and she was too, right? And we get in the car, and we start arguing, like all that stuff that built up in the restaurant. We start letting it out, right? And she's like, well, you always get offended for everything I say. I'm not even attacking you, and you think it. I'm like, why do you think that? And I'm not even thinking you're attacking me, but you are attacking me right now because of what you're saying. And anyway, finally, it was like a light bulb moment. We were quiet. We gave each other space at that point because we didn't have anything else to argue about. And it really dawned on me. And I remember looking at the steering wheel, because I was the one driving, and we were both crying. We had never done that. And we were both crying. And I told her, I said, Mom, I said, I know you love me, and I love you too. I said, and if we want to change this problem that you and I have, we got to change the way we see each other. And that was it. I said, let's make an agreement. Are you okay with that? And she said, yes, I am. And I said, I will no longer take anything you say as an attack. And she said, okay. And I will no longer think you're getting offended. After that, it changed everything, because the way that you see things, that's what you're going to receive, because you're putting out that energy or that intention or that. So if you have issues with your parents, you gotta heal that and come to terms with it.
Yep. I love it. That's so beautiful. And doesn't it just even feel so good just to reflect on that?
Yes.
Right? And just that very moment where it's like, wow, there was the healing.
Yeah.
Right? You guys were already on that healed journey, but that was what sealed it. Right?
Yes.
And then you moved on.
It was a smooth sailing. We have not had an argument in I don't know how long. I see her, all of that, but you have to make the agreement.
Yeah.
You can't hold anything back. Like, you somehow in you have to find, like, I'm not going to touch that anymore.
Yeah.
Don't even dip your finger in that water.
Don't even look in that direction anymore.
No, you can't.
No,
you can't.
Yeah, it's so true. But man, what what that book does for people, right?
Oh yeah.
And how it does just um expand that perspective. And I think we'll go ahead and close out with this. But I want to touch base, or I want to piggyback on what you said right now, that you know, our ancestors, they did what they knew to do with what they had,
Mhm.
right? And I think that what you're expressing right now is like such a beautiful and deep appreciation and acknowledgement for the fact that, you know, that's what they had to do
Yes.
to survive in the time that they were living, right? You know, my grandma has this identity of being such a strong woman, and we swear, my mom says I'm just like my grandma. We swear like sailors. No baja nadie de pendejas y cabronas y right. No, but she doesn't talk well. It's just a language, right? Shakespeare said that nothing has meaning until we give it meaning,
Mhm.
right? But anyways, um so my I I was able to have a conversation with my grandmother, and I asked her, like, tell me about your life. I think that's where our relationship started,
Mhm.
because I told her, I want to know more about you. I want to know more about your life. Who are you, right? And I remember at first she told me she didn't like to talk about it. And after a couple of times, me and my resilient ass, oh, so dime poquito, quiero saber. And she would tell me a little bit and a little bit more and a little bit more. And now I know so much about my grandmother that in the last, one of the last places I spoke at, I was able to share that, you know, we we should we shouldn't be angry at our ancestors.
Mhm.
If anything, we should have appreciation, because of course we wouldn't be here without them, right?
Mhm.
And the fact that she had to become this fearful woman that people were just like, ah, don't mess with her. And such a strong person, because she came from Mexico at 13, 14 years old, and my grandpa
Wow.
brought her, and she became a mom by the time she was, I think, 14 years old,
Wow.
had 6 kids. My grandpa came from Mexico, and he started his own business and became very, very successful in his business, left it for as a legacy to my uncles, and built a very good life for him and my grandmother. And I think growing up, that's all I seen was they lived a good life, right? But I knew, I could see it in her, that there was pain and that there had been struggle,
Mhm.
and I'm like, why? People aren't just mean for nothing, and you've seen, I'm sure, those memes where it's like, you know, hurt people hurt people because they're
Yes.
hurt.
Yes.
And I thought, why is she hurt? What happened? Why? And and I kind of started to see past that big tough woman, and I tapped into the real vulnerable person inside of her. And that's where we're at now, and it's a beautiful thing. And it gives me such a deep appreciation for who she is and for everything that she went through and pushed through to survive and to thrive
Mhm.
and to be who she is today, to have been and gone through everything, not just in her own life being a mother, a wife, but you know, uh having this, we have a huge family. And I'm sure she hurt when my mom hurt when she lost her son, she's hurt through
Mhm.
the losses of her own children, and my grandfather's not with us anymore, so she's experienced a lot.
Mhm.
And man, she's just an amazing woman, amazing. And it gives me a sense of pride to know like where I come from, and
Mhm.
to feel like just the way there's negative things that have been passed down to us, there's that strength and there's that resilience. There's that you know,
Yeah.
there's that beautiful woman inside too.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm all emotional. Anyhow, but I think it was such a wonderful podcast session, episode 1 for you guys. I hope you've enjoyed this as much as I have, Alice.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me here, and episode 1 of many.
Yes.
One of many to come.
I think we're just gonna go for it, me and you. We can
Mañana,
just
mañana.
take it. No, it really is. It's beautiful to connect with, like we said, like-minded people and express these emotions when there's not that many people who kind of, I feel, understand me at this level, right? Who I
Yeah.
can really engage and use this language with. And I mean, I don't know about you, but I love it.
Yeah.
I'm like, let's do it again.
Yes,
Let's do it again soon. So you guys stay tuned for the next episode. And of course, for Alice coming back, because like you said, this is the first of many.
Yes.
And thank you so much, Alice.
Thank
I
you.
love you, girl. Come here, give me a hug. Oh, it's been so good. You guys stay tuned and stay with us. Alice, before we do leave though, one of the things that I did want to make sure we do on our podcast is you're a service provider in our community. So please let's give a shout out to your business. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so my business name is Wildside Nails, and it is a mani-pedi nail salon here in McAllen, Texas. And we specialize on custom nail growth journeys. So if you have weak nails, nails that peel or break, and you've been trying to grow them out and you've tried everything under the sun and nobody can give you an answer, we can help you out. We can help you to get on a custom nail growth journey. So that is what we do.
Awesome. So my nails are we post pictures, guys, but
she's
yeah.
on her own journey.
Yes, and I can't wait to go get them done. Like, I'm like, okay, should I do something in between and share some more pictures? But I'm gonna stick it out with these ones until we do the ones when I get ready for my grandmother's 85th birthday.
Aww.
But you guys, thank you so much for being with us. And as always, I send you guys a lot of peace and love. Ciao. Yay! We'll see you guys later. Bye. Will it be recorded? I hope.